What is up, everybody? Welcome to Party on Broad. Today, we are breaking down and tier ranking every single player on the Sixers Summer League roster. Joining me, the best of the best, he is Sean Bernard. What's up, man?
Yeah, the Sixers Summer League super team that we have to break down with this one, as there is a decent amount of talent on this one and guys with some more NBA experience than a lot of times. So excited to break down a number of these names and looking forward to actually seeing them on the court as well.
Yeah, whoever's watching, please be sure to comment. Let us know your grades for each one of these guys. Dive to Sean. Who else is more adding to this team? Personally, let's roll with that. I think they're probably most likely done in terms of, adding a big name. They're not going to get into that first apron until the season starts. I am hoping personally that the dream would be like a Bobby Portis, or a guy of that ilk, probably at the trade deadline. A guy like I'm not the more I looked into Dorian Finney-Smith, the more I was like, kind of no. The Kyle Kuzmas, the Marcus Smarts, like any guys on your radar?
Yeah, I think I've more been bargain bin digging right now as far as realistic to me. I think Marcus Morris is pretty likely to end up back, which I don't fully hate, wouldn't mind having around. Kyle Lowry, Reggie Bullock's a guy on a minimum that I'm still very interested in. I think is worth taking a swing on. But part of like the, I guess, appeal of this Summer League roster is if any of these guys show out, they have a real chance to earn themselves a standard NBA deal. So I think it's an exciting opportunity for a lot of these guys.
We were here 12 months ago, and I remember talking about Ricky Council and you and Tiago and being like, real deal NBA body, real deal NBA athleticism. And sure enough, man, shoots the lights out this year.
Yeah.
And just an amazing downhill score. We're going to get into that. But, look at Ricky Council now. He has an NBA contract, and that's what this is all about, man. I love the overreaction of Summer League, man. We have Peter in the house. What's good? What's going on? Williams says, hoops are back. Let's go. Sixers need a rebounder. Worse than a divorced couple. Absolutely, man. But I'm also, that's fair. They did bring in Drummond, but I am excited that the Sixers are finally doing it right. Building around Maxey and Embiid with wings, and more wings, man. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like they're fitting the identity way more switchability, versatility, athleticism, all these buzzwords that we've been talking about. And to be honest, I think the Summer League roster is built kind of the same way, that a lot of these guys have some of that competitiveness, the nastiness, the athleticism to them. So it's clear that this organization is rightfully moving in a little bit different direction than has been the case. And I think there's going to be some success to follow that.
Yeah, just A+ job. Not even like the moves they made, but just from a front office standpoint, like the Sixers are just crushing it. I asked Austin that yesterday. I was like, do we have someone different leading the Sixers front office? Because there seems to be like a shift or something in terms of culture.
Yeah, and even stuff like the Maxey announcement last night is one of the coolest things that I've done.
I was like crying.
Yeah, it was seriously like emotional watching that. And that kind of stuff matters in the long haul. Like Rich Paul, who we can all have our opinions on, I'm not a fan of, but he, even at the end of that, talking about like, in my 23 years of doing this, I've never seen an organization do something like that. That matters when talking about relations with player, and even like to bring up the Paul George stuff. Like it's stuck in his mind, the Clippers organization handing Blake Griffin a max deal and then shipping him off to the Detroit Pistons. That's what pushed him to say, all right, well, I want a no trade clause then. Like that kind of reputation matters for an organization. The Sixers are finally doing a good job of like rebuilding theirs after some really dark times.
Yeah. I feel like the Sixers are also benefiting from the Clippers and how inept they are as well, which is all good. So we've got Daniel in the house. What's going on? I would love a Gordon Hayward on a minimum deal. The market is drying. Tyus Jones, he made like mid-teens, I believe, last year. I'm shocked that he's still available. That's definitely a ball handler that can pass the ball. That's what they need.
Yeah, and for these same reasons with the CBA and everything that is making things so difficult on teams, we're kind of seeing this middle class of NBA players dry up, like the value for them, that it is saving up for these max deals, and then teams trying to really hit on like the mid-levels and the veterans minimum type things. There's not this much like middle ground of money that has been there for quite some time. So Tyus Jones definitely has my eyes perked up. If he wants to take a minimum, I don't think the Sixers can offer basically any more than that. I think they're pretty much dried up. So I would love it if he's open to it. I still think there's probably a team that ends up ponying up a little bit more for him.
Yeah. David Jones is going to show up and show out. We're going to get dirty with some David Jones talk, no doubt. Grace, the rumors out there are still trying to get Dorian Finney-Smith. Reggie says, "What's up, Sean? I like Reggie Bullock and Precious Achua. I hope they bring back my cuz KJ. Are they? That's what we're waiting
balloon
for.
Deal.
KJ Martin
Yeah.
balloon deal.
Yeah. That's what'll keep our trade hopes alive. Is that does seem what all signs are pointing to. Is that's the number to pay attention to more so for what the potential trade can be rather than what KJ, and shout out KJ Martin for being a perfect spot for a payday, man.
Yeah, and then get traded in a few months, like in January. Do y'all think Trent Jr. signs elsewhere? I would love Gary Trent Jr. He's gonna have to come here for the vet minimum, but wow, that would be a hell of a signing if they can convince Gary Trent Jr. McCain should shoot 10 threes a game. I love it, Charlie. Just like Turk last summer.
Sign me up. Yeah.
Just let it rip, man. Let it rip. All right. The new CBA is not middle class friendly. All right.
Yeah.
Let's roll into the bulk of this show. We're going to go S to F tier, and we are going to say what prospects Sixers players we're most excited for. Sean, do you have an S tier guy?
Yeah, I'll start off right with our 16th overall pick, Jared McCain, as my S tier pick. I love Jared McCain. I'm very excited to see what he can look like. I also like when you look at his tape at Duke, he very much was a guy who wasn't very on ball heavy. I'm very curious what the Sixers role is, because I do think there's a world where this guy develops into like a true point guard down the line, or at least more of like the guy that's capable of running a team. Like he does have that feeling to him. So I'm excited to see what he looks like, how much he shines on this level, and just really have a chance to play some free flowing basketball where he can shoot it as much as he wants. So for me, Jared McCain right there at the S tier.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to see, like you said, how he looks on ball. You know, that's that pick and roll playmaking ability. Like you said, is not something we saw a lot at Duke, but he did average like 4 assists in high school per game. I think he's got feel. I think he's got touch. We already know he can space the floor. I want to see how he runs the offense just a little bit. That's kind of the intrigue. Is that okay, Sean, or are we putting this guy in the wrong position to succeed?
I don't think so. I'm more of a believer that he is like a true point guard archetype. Like even when you watch like the way that he just kind of interacts with like teammates and stuff, there's such like a leadership vibe to this guy that I can very much see that being the case. And there's still a bit of that like sink or swim when you are 6'3" that you got to figure out some of these skills. So I kind of want to see McCain thrown into this position. And I would love it if this becomes like his team. This summer league team is like he's running the show. He's being the guy running an offense, showing everything. That's what I would like to see them at least try and see if he's capable of doing. And he may not. He may end up being a guy that's a spot up shooter. Again, his defining trait right now is absolutely as a shooter. That footwork especially just blows me away by just how great he is at being prepared for catch and shoot. It's very like Klay Thompson-like, and I think there's more to him than just the shooting as well. So I think it's fair. I put all the expectation on Jared McCain. I think he's ready for it.
Yeah. Some comments real quick, and then we'll get to – I have one more S tier, of course. Precious Achua would be awesome for some a rebounder. Big need for the 4. Love that. Love to also get Trent Jr. on the cheap. Adem Bona, we're going to get into him very, very soon. S tier, I mean, this was, I'll just leave this off. I mean, obviously, it's Ricky Council. Ricky Council, my God. I cannot wait to see this guy back on the court. Like I said at the start of the show, at this time last year, this guy was gearing up to take the court as an undrafted free agent on a 2-way deal, man. He arrived at Salt Lake. He had, I thought, several flashes. He played in the G League, and he got his chance with the Sixers. You know, some of the biggest concerns was that jump shot, and I thought the shot really came through. And you love that fearlessness in his game. Really shined last year. And I think this summer is his opportunity to kind of show that his perimeter shooting last year is not a fluke. You know, he is the real deal. I thought he should have got a lot more playing time last year with Tobias kind of clogging that position. But I'm going to put Ricky Council in the S tier.
Yeah, and beyond just dominating the G League level, which he absolutely did with the Blue Coats there, every time he had an opportunity with the Sixers, he just made things happen. And the game that stands out the most to me is that win over the Spurs, that overtime victory by the Sixers team, where Ricky Council IV was in that closing lineup. He hit that wraparound pass to Batum, like, still sticks in my brain of, like, there's something here beyond just a guy that is a slasher, a work rate, and athleticism. I think personally there was some skepticism in my mind from watching him in college of, like, is this going to work at the next level? Because he is a guy who's very brunt force, where that he's hardworking, just attacking the rim, but it has translated just about every time. And the dude just has an insane motor that I'm ready to watch him continue polishing the skills. So yeah, absolutely thrilled to watch Ricky Council IV.
I love the confidence. The confidence is
Yeah.
incredible. And if there's a guy that's going to put up 20 shots tonight, I think it's going to be Ricky Council. Just let it rip, man. Let it rip. We have Williams saying, I want to see Council and if his development late in the season stuck. Sean, do you have any other S tiers on this roster?
I do not have any other S tiers. I do have an A tier I can hop to, unless you have another S tier you want to lead with.
No, I think those are the main two guys. Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah, I do, and I gave some consideration to S tier for this, but an A tier for me to lead off with is Justin Edwards right here. This was a guy that was potentially looked at as a expected lottery pick going into last year. He's one of the top 5 recruits in this year's recruiting class going into college. Ultimately was outperformed by Rob Dillingham and Reed Shepard from the guard position at Kentucky, and a couple other guys that were playing some high-level roles as well. So Edwards just got a little overshadowed, but there were moments where he absolutely shined. He had 8 3-pointers against Alabama. He had his moments where you felt his impact and presence on the court. He still falls in that level of theoretical basketball player where he's 6'7", he has the athleticism. I'm really surprised there was no team that took a chance on him and drafted him. I do wonder if that had a little bit to do with the agent side of thing and trying to get him in a spot where he had an opportunity, which is right here in Philadelphia, as we just mentioned, with all the roster constrictions and the possibility there. But the talent seems to be there. I am disappointed. I tried to watch this guy play in person twice, as he is a Philly area guy, and ultimately didn't work out for both games. Was there and him sitting on the sideline for picking up an injury. So disappointed for that at Emotep Charter. But I can't wait to see him, and there is a chance that this turns into like a real value contract. They can ink this guy up.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how he grows under Paul George too. Kind of the same kind of mold I'm hoping he kind of develops into. Why did Justin Edwards leave early? That's a great question. I mean, he was a top-notch recruit coming out of high school. I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I think like a lot of for him, the plan was very clearly to be a one and done guy. So I think he just kind of stuck to that. I personally, whenever things happen like this, I think the route's just do another year of college and then, re-enter, or you want to transfer, do something like that. Guys are in a rush to get to the NBA, and I do kind of get it. So I think he just stuck to the plan, even though it didn't fully work out. But even leading up to the draft, there was some chatter of a late first round pick or something like that. So it's a surprise that he slipped all the way out of the draft.
Yep. Morey should give Council the Isaiah Joe treatment. Not sure what that. I mean, does that mean just shoot from 3? Just let him shoot? I don't know.
It better not be waving.
I hope it's not just let him walk. That would be extremely sad. Bono will only be a 5. Let's go to there. Where would you put Adem Bono?
I think he's an A tier for me as well. And we saw officially the writing be on the wall. It became official that no more Paul Reed with the Philadelphia 76ers. I think that realization for myself sunk in the second that they drafted Bono. And we obviously knew the overarching financial concerns there. But this dude was a Pac-12 Rookie of the Year, Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year, even just last year, averaging 12.4 points and 5.9 rebounds. The defense is legit, that he's got active hands. He can slide on the perimeter a little bit. The shot blocking is super high level. We're talking about 1.8 blocks and 26.5 minutes per game at the college level there. So I'm very impressed with what I've seen from Bono. He's also a little bit more polished and disciplined than a guy like Paul Reed, that he doesn't have this instinct to do too much, which we saw from Paul at times. So I'm very excited. He seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders. I'm ready to see what this guy looks like at the NBA level or against NBA talent. But I think the fact that they already signed this guy to a standard deal, or that's the direction they're going, shows the belief in the organization, and we're about to see why.
For me, it's the perimeter defense. I need to see him thrive, show solid technique and fundamentals around the basket, because you look at the rebounding numbers, they're not there. You look at his physical measurables, and athleticism, and that's a little puzzling. And I want to see him not get into foul trouble. I know like summer league is basically glorified street ball, but like I would like to see him stay out of foul trouble, like show some high IQ. And then I would like to just see him with some rim protection. That's really all this is at the end of the day. That's why you brought in Andre Drummond. Just rebound the basketball, protect. Be that Batman role type. Do you think he could defend on the perimeter at all? Do you have any expectations there?
Enough not to be like singled out and drawn out. I don't think he's going to be a guy that you're probably generally playing switching 1 through 5 schemes where he is in pick and roll settings, switching out to the ball handler a lot. But the Sixers don't tend to do that, as they don't like to do that with Joel a lot. So I don't consider that a massive weakness. Like Paul Reed was capable of doing that. I think he's going to be able to do it more than Drummond, which could become very valuable in a playoff setting. Is that's kind of still the overarching concern with Drummond. We never got to see him in the playoff setting, and that's been a weakness that we've seen with past backup centers. So I do think he's capable of it, but it's not something that I'm inking at as like this is going to be a strength or something they use super highly.
Yeah. William says, do you think Bona can switch on the 4s? That's the fear, right? I think defensively he can, but is he a negative on the court offensively to the point where it's like 4-on-5 all over again? And we've had several guys come in for the Sixers that kind of have been like that. So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. He's not a jump shooter.
He's not, but the only thing that pushes me to think like it could work, like if he produces some really high level offensive rebounding numbers, and I mean like even last year it was 2 offensive rebounds a game and 2.2 as a freshman. Like the way that Joel Embiid has become so comfortable as a mid-range shooter and even a perimeter shooter towards last year that he kind of inched toward that. If this is a guy just creating extra possessions and you allow Joel to just float and take jumpers in the way that he's comfortable, there is some opportunities in which I think it could work. Obviously, we need to see how these guys mix together on the court together, but worth it, at least keeping an eye out, I feel.
I think he's a 5. If Paul Reed couldn't even get on the court to play next to Joel as a 4, there's no way Nick Nurse is going to play Bona as a 4. I just don't see it.
I think Nick Nurse didn't particularly like Paul Reed, and I think it's now 2 consecutive coaches that didn't like Paul Reed. And Paul, one of the more just instinctive basketball players I think we've seen. Bona doesn't particularly strike me as that. Like he's a kind of really good head on his shoulders, a well-spoken, like intelligent guy that just seems to like get it in a way that I don't know if Paul still fully did. Like Paul, and I don't necessarily mean this as a criticism, but he's like a total instinctive and reactive player. If he just needs to go, like the more thinking he does, the worse. I think Bona can think the game a little bit better.
All right. Any other A tiers? I personally do not have another A tier.
I do have one I want to throw in the A tier, and that's Tony Bradley here.
What?
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that we're going to watch Tony Bradley in a summer league setting, but it's been a bizarre career for him. You can see all the stats there. Let's not forget he was initially traded in that George Hill trade for the Sixers team, is ultimately how he left here. But he was good for the Sixers for a stretch. I know he played just 20 games here, that there wasn't a ton to go off, but he's a guy who showed a little bit of shooting touch, a high-level rebounder, real deal center size, and it's been strange to me that he hasn't really found a footing. Like this guy's gotten legitimate NBA contracts, not just like chances. And it's strange to me that there seems to be no interest. He's also a guy that they brought in that same workout with Sam Decker, with a lot of guys that are kind of fringe NBA players looking for a chance back at it. I know Joel Embiid spoke highly of him. We all remember the famous build around Tony Bradley tweet from that one game in which Joel Embiid was out there and he played. So I'm really curious what this guy has left in the tank, why he's fallen off the way he has. But I mean, he's still about to turn 26, 27. Like this guy has a real chance. So I'm intrigued by what Tony Bradley can bring to the table.
Yeah, I see him behind Embiid and Drummond and Bona in the rotation for sure. His G League numbers last year per 36 was pretty damn good. 24, 16, 3 blocks. We'll see. Again, like you said, like Tony Bradley he had some good moments for the Sixers. Yeah. We'll see. We know he can rebound the basketball, and that's literally the bar is not that high for some of these guys. Williams says, I'm excited to see what Bradley has left. Still young. Yeah. My co-host Rob Lange loves Tony Bradley. So that'll be fun. My toxics trades, I'm expecting all of our guys from the 2024 draft to show me something tonight. I'm a big fan of the Sixers. Nice. All right. Any other A tiers? I do not.
I'm good on the A tier.
All right, me too. Let's roll on to B tier. Who would you put at B tier?
My B tier and a guy that I'm really excited to watch tonight, Judah Mintz out of
Yes,
Syracuse.
I love it.
That was the dude I was messaging you about that I figured would become one of your guys. The dude's a hooper, man. He's one of those like bucket and a problem type players. He plays with like a fiery passion and an energy. He's gotten ejected from games in a way that like I kind of like for brushing up with guys and that kind of thing. And he's productive on the court. Like the shooting numbers are the concern, and he's got to get better. 30.3% from three as a freshman and dipped to 28.2% last year. But the free throw numbers are fine. He was an 18.8 point per game scorer this year, 4.4 assists. The steal number is really intriguing to me. 1.8 as a freshman, 2.1 as a sophomore. And he's a guy that every time I watched him, like he popped to me. Like I feel like there's an NBA player in there. So I'm ready to see Judah Mintz, see how it translates to the next level. But this is a guy I certainly have my eyes out on.
I love it, man. Yeah, it's all shooting. It's all shooting. When it comes to Judah Mintz. Shot 30% from deep during his 2 college years. He's a pretty decent free throw shooter. He's got nice touch inside the arc. Yeah, bucket getter, man. The Sixers need bucket getters. So we'll see how that translates. So we'll put him in the B tier. Any other B tiers?
I want to throw RJ Hampton in here as well.
Yeah.
Guy that's bounced around, obviously was a top pick. I know he played overseas. He was one of the first guys to take the New Zealand route as kind of his direction and path to the pros there. He's just really struggled to find his footing, but there's been stretches which he was like a legitimate contributor. Like for that Magic team when he spent time down there, logged 25.2 minutes per game one year, 21.9 minutes per game the next season. At his most at the NBA level, he averaged 11.2 points per game, 5 rebounds, 2.8 assists. But for a summer league opportunity, that's pretty impressive to get that kind of qualifications for a guy that, you know, can produce and show at least some signs of potential at the NBA level. So I'm not the biggest RJ Hampton guy. I'm not ready to buy the stock or hand him a contract, but I'm just ready to see, like, what does this guy truly have?
Can I jump in?
Sure.
Yes. Gracie says we do have tournaments. I'm going to throw Romeo Langford in the B tier.
I like it.
I'm intrigued, man. I'm intrigued. I remember covering this guy during the draft process years ago. He was one of the top recruits in the country back in 2019. The pick the Celtics used on Langford was the one they acquired in what was ultimately the Fultz for Tatum trade. And the Celtics moved him to the Spurs as part of the Derek White trade. He's still only 24 years old. He's still trying to find his footing. There have been some flashes, but he's athletic. He's got a 6'11" wingspan. The jump shot, as you can see, it has been inconsistent, but you look at last year, 37.1% from three on 3.0 attempts as part of the Salt Lake City Stars. I'm going to throw some Romeo Langford love out there. We'll see what this kid's got.
Yeah, I like it. And any guy with this level of NBA pedigree that have been around a couple years, I'm really intrigued by it. I think it's like a worthwhile roster spot to see what he's got. So I like that take as well. There's a lot of David Jones love going on in the comments right now.
Let's
any thoughts on David Jones and where he fits in this equation?
I like David Jones. Let me put up his guy. This took me so much time to make, so I'm going to use him. Damn it! But David Jones, really intriguing player. I was really happy that they brought him in. He's on the Exhibit 10 contract, correct?
I believe so. Yes. Yeah.
I think he's definitely an improving floor spacer. There's some questions about whether or not the shooting is real, as you see there, but he's also a guy that's consistent. Unlike Romeo Langford, he scored in double figures all 32 games in 2024. He really improved as a spot up shooter. That's what you're expecting out of this guy, as an off ball kind of floor spacer. And for me, I want to see this guy knock down buckets from three. He made major strides last year, as I said, but he shot 28.4% from beyond the arc during his previous 3 years of college. And last year at Memphis, shot 38% on 6.5 attempts per game. So we'll see. I'm good. B tier, let's do it. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm cool with B tier as well. I'm a little bit more skeptical than I think the general consensus. For me, it's a little concerning that it took till this year with Memphis for him to truly pop. That, as you mentioned, spent the first 2 years at DePaul, then to St. John's. Even at St. John's, like 13.2 point per game score. The rebounding is really impressive for a guy that does measure in at 6'3", 6.8 at his year at St. John's, 7.6 this season at Memphis. He's a really physical player. Like, he's a bruiser. He'll put his shoulder down. He'll get into you. He's a pretty good shooter. His biggest hot spot as a 3-point shooter is in between that kind of mid-range, not like, not in the front and center, not in the corner, but in that the middle ground there, which I do think is kind of interesting. You don't see that a lot. That was his best shooting percentage-wise there. The turnovers, I have a little bit of fear on, 3 per game. That won't fly. The high volume 3 and the efficiency growing with it is intriguing to me. Like, to compare him to a guy like Judah Mintz, I'm a little bit higher on Mintz because I just feel like it's going to translate a little more. But I understand why David Jones has fans, and I do think like there is a real chance that he could open some eyes.
Mm-hmm. David Jones is a stud. People love them some David Jones. Look at all these comments. David Jones, plug and play. My goodness, David Jones got announced as a 2-way. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I just confirmed that as well. He is officially on the 2-way contract. So Sixers showing that belief as well.
All right. Oh, nice. 2-way. What number will C-Mart wear? I don't know. Caleb Martin? Any idea?
Yeah, I'm not sure on that either. I haven't seen. Was he 15 for the Heat? Something along those lines. I'm gonna look that up.
Caleb Martin was number 16 for the Heat.
16.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any does anybody have 16 yet? I'm gonna have to fact check that.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm not good on the numbers as much there, but whatever Caleb Martin wants, and as much as like Paul George, the headliner, we have all these stars, I think Caleb Martin's gonna be a favorite player for a lot of Philadelphia 76ers fans.
Yeah, Jones averaged 25 points versus top 20 competition. Damn, I like it.
He is a dog.
Yeah. Jeff Dowtin. He's 27.
I know that does hurt. He's very much. I think I'll put it this way. I think there's out of all these guys we mentioned, I think you can make the argument that Jeff Dowtin has a higher chance to actually land a roster spot than the David Jones and Judah Mintz and Tony Bradleys. Nick Nurse seems to very much like him. I did generally like his minutes when he was on the court. I think he's just fine as a basketball player. He makes the right reads. He's a smart player, but I like your weaknesses there. Limited ceiling is spot on. Like, this guy is who he is at this point. It did hurt my soul when I found out how old he was last year, that this wasn't a prospect that I could really get behind. But like, Nick Nurse seems to certainly trust him to run an offense for a stretch. I'm curious how much like him and McCain play off each other or how much they share the floor. I think that'll be pretty telling for what their expectations are, and for McCain specifically, if he's going to be looked at as more of a point guard versus giving it to Dowtin. I wish I could pump up my excitement for him a little more, but I think the Jeff Dowtin experience might be at the end of the road a little bit here.
Yeah. C tier, is that cool?
Yeah. C tier is fine. I still like him. I just don't. I don't have this excitement that I wish I did.
The ball's going to go through him. Like, he's going to get, he's going to get a lot of usage during the summer league for sure. I remember the post game show when we were talking about Jeff Dowtin. I don't know if he played, and you asked me like, how old do you think Jeff Dowtin was? And I was just blown away that he's 20s. That old. Crazy. All right. Do you have any other B tiers?
I don't think so. I'm scanning the roster again now. Yeah, I think that's it for me.
All right. Let's roll on to C tier. We hit the top guys, I think, pretty well. Darius Days. Any thoughts on Darius Days, who seems to kind of have some nice, measurables a little bit? Let me put up his graphic right there. But it looks like a glue guy. He has some potential to stretch the floor and maybe play some small ball 5. You like the versatility on defense. He might be able to handle wings on the defensive end of the floor. He's not a playmaker. He's not a slasher. He's not a mid-range scorer, but you're looking for him to be a finisher and a plus defender. And for Darius, I think it's all about that jump shot developing into a consistent weapon as part of his arsenal. He shot 30.9% from 3 on 220 attempts the last 2 years in the G League. But yeah, any thoughts on Darius Days?
Yeah, I did like him at LSU, watching him a while ago, that he was a guy that showed a little something. He's played just 4 games at the NBA level, which is kind of concerning there. A guy that just kind of hasn't found his lane. He was a dude that I wish stuck around and stayed in college a little bit longer than he did. I honestly don't have that high of gut feel for what he can bring to the table. Or he did do the 4 years at LSU, I'm sorry. So not college there, but I think he's a little bit of like haven't found his identity as a basketball player. He had a little bit of a slippage in production from 3 going from his junior to senior year at LSU from 40% to 35% there. The rebounding's intriguing again. They got a lot of like guards, or not guards, but guys that aren't true big men that are high level rebounders. Like looking back at his college stats, 7.8 rebounds per game in his final 2 seasons there. I concern about what his identity is as a basketball player and what his fit is, but he is a worker. He does seem to be a grinder. Glue guy is a decent way to put it. I'm not a Darius Days guy, but I can see the vision if you are.
Yeah. Are you good with C tier? I'm not a. I'm hoping Dem Bonus shows me a lot more than Darius Days.
Definitely. I do have another for C tier.
All right, who you got?
Jordan Tucker. I like that. That's a guy I have a little bit more belief in. Spent some time at Duke. He's a guy who like spent his freshman year at Duke, then transferred to Butler, whereas he really truly grew as a player. Still hasn't gotten much of an NBA opportunity. He's a guy who, like, to compare him right to Darius Days, like I just kind of see it stylistically as a basketball player a little more. These are all kind of shots in the dark, so I don't want to overgas any of these guys, but I do think that this dude has a chance to carve out a role. The team defender, I think, is important. Like, it does feel like he buys in and has a little bit of basketball smarts to him as far as knowing the right place to be and all that. So I'm intrigued to see what this guy looks like in this type of basketball setting, and a guy that I'm not ready to like give up on isn't an NBA player just yet.
Okay. We'll throw him in C tier. I don't have any other C tiers. Should we roll on to D tier?
Yeah, I'm good with rolling on.
Let's throw this guy, Max Fiedler, in the D tier. He's he's a guy that put up some crazy numbers in college. The biggest thing that you see there is the 5.0 assists. He has actually recorded 15 games of 10 plus points and 15 of 10 plus rebounds, which is impressive. But yeah, this guy looks like a guy that can really thrive as a distributor on the elbow, kind of that same area Joel Embiid did so under Nick Nurse. He's not a floor spacer. He's not going to give you rim protection, but he's a solid rebounder, which has definitely been an area of weakness for the Sixers. So for me, D tier. Any thoughts on Max Fiedler?
Yeah, he's a guy who's going to make a large leap in the talent level. That he did spend his college career at Rice, which, you know, going from Rice to the NBA is quite the leap there. Spent 5 seasons there, but the numbers are pretty impressive. He's also a dude that set a ton of records at the school there. Like, we're talking about like all-time records for a bunch of stuff there and a ton of honors, the academic honors as well. A really smart kid. I don't know if I see it overall as like at the NBA level how it would translate. He's going to be a guy that has to make some changes game. Like, the free throw numbers scare me. He shot just 65.8% through his career, only attempted 15 total 3-pointers throughout his time in college. So he is a bare bones type player, but a high level rebounder. He was 9.3 points and 9.3 rebounds per game, along with the 5.3 assists this year. It'll be interesting to see what his basketball fit is or the way he finds a way to make it work. I'm kind of skeptical, but he seems like a good kid who works hard, so it's worth giving him a chance.
Yeah, I was reading an article or an interview of Max Fiedler, and he was talking a lot about Jokic and how, like, that's kind of like a guy that he's trying to model his game after a little bit.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right. Who are we missing? What guys are we missing here?
Justin Powell.
Justin who?
Justin Powell.
Oh man, I must have missed him.
He's a 6'5" guardish guy who played last with the Cleveland Charge. Went to Washington State. He's a little bit intriguing to me. A guy that went undrafted. He bounced around in college a little bit. Washington State, some time at Tennessee, I believe, as well. I don't have much of a feel on him for him as a basketball player. I don't know. He's fine. He can be in the F tier or not, but he is on the team.
What about you? We're missing Jalen Sims.
Okay.
There's a guy.
Yeah. And Keeve Sims is, I believe, the other one.
Oh,
Or
yeah. We can talk about
Keeve Aluma. I'm sorry.
Steve Aluma. There it is. Yeah, really good size, 6'9". Yeah, definitely interested to see how much he can switch on defense. Not an elite athlete, an improving floor spacer. You see the percentages there: 35.1%, then 33.3%, and then I can't even read that. It's blocked. 44. No, that's not 30. Around 35%. Any thoughts on Keeve Aluma?
Yeah, I mean, not a ton here either. The bottom of the barrel guys I'm a little bit less familiar with, but I like the Virginia Tech background. They generally carve out some decent defenders is kind of the mentality of that program there. He did spend the first season at Virginia Tech as a red shirt. Hasn't done a ton kind of really at the professional level. He's fine. He's worth a chance. I do like the stylistic fit of him, but we'll see how overall things shake out. So worth keeping an eye on, but not a guy I'm super high on either.
Maybe like as a potential stretch 4.
Yeah.
I don't know, kind of guy. All right. There we go. And then the only other guy I have, correct me if I'm wrong, is Jalen Sims.
Okay. Yep.
6'6", floor spacer. Finding info on this guy was very difficult. Any thoughts on Jalen Sims?
Yeah, not a ton on him either. A guy who's played within the Hornets organization a little bit, hasn't shown a lot. Still on the younger side, so I'm intrigued by if there is something there. 25. He's a guy that needs an opportunity. There's a lot of these guys that, like, when you look at some insane college stats or these numbers that we've just never seen how they fit in at the NBA level, I think you can throw him in that type of bucket. But again, not a guy that I'm overly fired up about. That it is kind of the Judah Mintz is the guy that I would say is the biggest like unknown that I'm optimistic about.
Yeah. Some comments: bring back Markelle Fultz as Maxi's backup. Tyus Jones would be nice. Why doesn't Ben Simmons play in the summer league? If Ben would play in the summer league, it would be winter. All right. I'm going to throw it to you, Sean. Who's going to be the Ricky Council of the Sixers Summer League? Like, who do you think is going to be the guy that in 2-3 weeks from now we're like, definite winner?
I think it's going to be Justin Edwards. I think this is a dude who we shouldn't hold it too hardly against him that he kind of got buried in that Kentucky team. That's just the Kentucky outlook. And there's been other guys who we've seen. I mean, Tyrese Maxey himself fell all the way to 21 after seemingly underperforming when we've seen how Tyrese Maxey turned out to be. So I saw some flashes with Justin Edwards that kept my eyes open for him. He is the archetype of player they're looking for: switchable, versatile, 6'7", athletic. He's got to do a little bit more developing with his right hand, but I do think Justin Edwards has a chance for making a case why he deserves a standard NBA deal before summer league is over.
I think it's going to be Bona. I think all signs point to him, like, because you look at summer league, it's literally all it is, just running up and down the floor.
Yeah,
and he's incredibly athletic. Like, I think he could definitely show some flashes of just rim protection and some defense here and there, and rim running, things like that. So I'm going to go Bona for my pick.
Yeah.
Jared McCain for MVP. David
Could
Jones
happen.
for a shout out. Oh man, if Jared McCain shows that he can be like a quality backup sooner than later, we're going to be sitting pretty good, Sean. Like, really good.
Yeah, I think there's a chance of that too. That I think like a lot of people are going to have their eyes open to. There's a polish to his game. There's like a smoothness, like a confidence level that I think it is really cool. So I'm in on Jared McCain. And for this comment here, I'll say that Edwards, I think stylistically, like his game he's one of those players where I think his game's going to translate better to the NBA level than for college. I think this is the kind of setting that he'll shine, where it isn't as structured or, running team offense, that it's just guys going and hooping. And that's the best version of Justin Edwards that I've seen. So I'm optimistic about it in summer league.
Justin Edwards actually got better as the season progressed last year. So he really struggled out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, he scored 10 plus double-digit points 6 times in Kentucky's final games and had a 20-point game. But yeah, he's all projection. He is absolutely all projection. All right. that wraps it up, man.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, plugs as we get ready for Summer League tonight, man.
Yeah, excited to start taking it in here in Salt Lake City. And then as of Friday, we'll be flying out there myself to Vegas to take it in person and see how they're looking like from over there. So hopefully be able to grab some interviews with a couple of these guys and see how they tick on the inside the brain as well as on the court. So very excited to have some basketball to break down. It never escapes. There's always a little more. So excited about that.
I'm uber jealous, man. Super, super jealous. That's going to be so much fun. Guys, thank you everyone for watching. The comments were nuts today. Please be sure to like wherever you're watching. Thank you for anybody who's watched. We will be doing a post-game show tonight, right when the clock hits 0, and overreacting to the Summer League madness. Did you see Dalton Connect's first 2 games?
I saw a little bit of it. Yesterday I was checking in more so than the first one, but look good. He's not Bronny James by any means, but he's out there.
He's out there. I feel like McCain and Connect will be compared forever, but
For sure.
Dalton Connect, 12 points per game, 24% from the field, 28.5% from 3, and he's a -23. He's a bust, Sean. He's a bust. Daryl was right all along.
I do love all the Summer League overreactions.
Oh, it's the best. I'm just kidding for anyone that doesn't know. But anyway,
we'll have plenty of our own.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Make sure you go give Sean a follow on X at Sean_Bernard1. Check out Pick Swap Media, Sixers Digest, Fox Sports, The Gambler. Is there anything you want to plug over there? Because I know you're always crushing it over there.
Yeah, dropped a Sixers Digest video today talking about the Paul George podcast and kind of the conversations behind the scenes. So there's something available there that you guys can check out. But nothing too crazy for me. Gearing up for Summer League and hopefully have a lot of content coming out from Vegas.
Hell yeah, man. Guys, thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you for post game. He is Sean. I am Dives. Thank you everyone for watching. Stay awesome.